This model shows a muscle fiber and the end of a motor neuron and the synaptic knob of the motor neuron that comes to the muscle fiber. So a muscle fiber is a single muscle cell, and this cylinder, starting right around here and coming up to here, is a section. It's a piece of a muscle fiber. So if you took that long, long string of a muscle fiber and chopped a section of it off, you would be looking at this. This piece over here is the motor neuron that stimulates the muscle fiber. So the motor neuron comes in, and then the synaptic knob is up here. So that orients you to the model. Let's start with the motor neuron. If you look right here, you can see the axon of the neuron, and then wrapped around it, like a tortilla wrapped around a pencil, is the myelin sheath. So there's the myelin sheath. And you can see that myelin sheath wrapping around. And then if you think of my arm as a motor neuron and my hand as a synaptic knob, it's coming up like this. And then the synaptic knob is over here. This synaptic knob is covered with a specialized cell that we don't really talk about, so you can ignore that, but it's right here. The yellow part right here is actually the synaptic knob. And within that synaptic knob, if you look up close, you can see the vesicles that contain neurotransmitter. Those little white dots right there. Those are vesicles with neurotransmitter. Since this is a motor neuron, the neurotransmitter is acetylcholine. This little blue ocean right here, next to the synaptic knob, is the synaptic cleft. And on the other side is the motor end plate. The motor end plate is the part of the cell membrane that is just opposite the synaptic knob. So synaptic knob, vesicles, synaptic cleft, and the squiggly line is the motor end plate. Now let's go to the muscle fiber itself. Everything in a muscle fiber has a special name because biologists like to give special names to things. So this part that goes around the outside of the muscle fiber, the cell membrane, is called the sarcolemma. Sarco means muscle, so sarcolemma, and it goes all the way around the outside. There's a specialized connective tissue wrapper around here that goes around the outside of the sarcolemma. Inside the sarcolemma, you have these myofibrils. So myofibrils, these things, they're cylindrically shaped. See them up here, cylindrically shaped myofibrils. And the myofibrils are made of sarcomeres, end to end. So from here to here is a sarcomere. So sarcomere, 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 stretching on and on and on. These things are super long. So these are the sarcomeres, these are the myofibrils. And remember, the myofibrils are made up of those thick and thin filaments with actin, myosin, troponin, tropomyosin. This right here is one of the nuclei of the muscle fiber. It's this purple thing right here. Nucleus of the muscle fiber. You remember from when you studied histology that there's nuclei, multiple nuclei per cell, and they're pushed off to the edge of the cell. If you look right here, you can see these little holes. And if you think of sticking your finger inside of a balloon and the balloon wraps around your finger, in the same way, the sarcolemma goes deep into the muscle fiber, and that's this blue thing right here. And that part of the sarcolemma that goes deep into the muscle fiber is called the T tubules. T stands for transverse. You can also call them transverse tubules because they go transverse. They cut across. Wrapped around each of these myofibrils, these cylinders that are myofibrils, wrapped around them is this beige colored web-like stuff, and that is the endoplasmic reticulum. But in a muscle cell, the endoplasmic reticulum has a special name. It's called the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Sarco means muscle. So this beige web-like stuff is the sarcoplasmic reticulum. You can see where the sarcoplasmic reticulum lines up next to the T tubules that cut across the cells right here. And then you see sarcoplasmic reticulum, T tubules, sarcoplasmic reticulum. That part that's a little bit swollen and is right next to the T tubules, that's called the cisternae. A cistern stores water. In this case, the cisternae store calcium. And cisterna, T-tubule, cisterna, those three together is called a triad. Tri means three, so cisterna, T-tubule, cisterna, triad. These little red things in here, all these things tucked in here, those are mitochondria. Lots of mitochondria in muscle cells because muscle cells need lots of energy for contraction.